Hello and welcome, I'm Lyndon Walker and I hope you enjoy the video. It has yet again been a minute, but it's spooky season and I have been preoccupied, so excuse me. Please accept this gothic, vaguely spooky painting I did to practice lace, hardwood, and perspective. However, what I was specifically excited to work on here was the perspective, as I decided to use two-point perspective, a very commonly used form of perspective which I have done numerous times before. However, most of the time I keep the two vanishing points fairly far apart to prevent warping. However, here I decided to do the exact opposite and allowed to keep the vanishing points close together to kind of create a sort of wide-angle lens effect. If you couldn't tell, I placed the two vanishing points in, well, one of the vanishing points in the hallway of the back hallway towards the door, as you can probably determine from the floorboards running and disappearing there. However, the second vanishing point I placed at the toe of the figure's left shoe, which you probably would have been able to see directly if I had recorded the sketch process, but then it just wouldn't be a video of mine, would it? Now, in the meantime, since I've been away, I've been staying occupied. I've been to a couple of concerts, for example. I actually went to go see My Chemical Romance, which was amazing to say the least. My friend and I's seats were out in the boonies, like literally back against the wall, but it was worth it. And I have to note that the Foundations of Decay, the newest song they made, absolutely went off live. It was incredible. And of course I got myself merch. I mean, we stood in line for like a minimum of 30 minutes or so I wasn't going to leave empty-handed. Then after my chem, I went with said same friend to see Ghost, which was also excellent. I recently got into Ghost, so when I heard that they would be in town, I thought it'd be a great opportunity. This time around, I was in the pit and able to get pretty close to the stage. The merch tables were also getting pretty dry early on, but I was able to get a nice little pin, so I was content with that. And afterward, we made a mad dash to the train, dying from thirst all the way over. And when we finally got to the station on time, fortunately, only 2 of 6 vending machines were working. One was stocked, and all it had was Diet Pepsi. What I would have done for just a water is unspeakable, but the Pepsi saved my life nonetheless. Then the third and final show I've been to recently was Palais Royale, which I actually got VIP tickets for, kind of by accident, but it was a happy accident. Got to see a little acoustic pre-show and all of that. And the show was great, swell energy, nice people, can't complain. However, that was not the end of my night. The trains, as they so often do, broke a little bit, and I ended up missing the last train by exactly 1 minute, which would have been fine if a Post Malone show hadn't been getting out as I arrived and jacked up the lift prices. But I digress, it is what it is. And after many trials and tribulations of having to wait for the first driver to take about 30 minutes to get there, then canceling the ride right when they got there, I waited for another, which formally picked me up, my little shivering self, out of the cold and dropped me home at about 1 in the morning, but that's okay, it's not like I had to be up at 5:30 or anything the next day. Still worth it though, I think I'm going to chill a little bit though after that. But despite all that, I have been getting into the spirit of the season by going to the Topsfield Fair. I actually haven't been for like 10 years or so. I know I went when I was like a relatively small child, so probably more than 10 years actually. But it was really swell to see all of the animals, even if I couldn't see all of the chickens because unfortunately there was a bout of bird flu going around, so that was unfortunate. But I was able to see the little chicks getting hatched and running around, which was good enough for me. I also got a ribbon for petting a rabbit. It's green. I think I'm going to incorporate it into a collage at some point in my journal, whenever I get around to that, and all of my other billions of projects. There was also a nice donkey there that ended up getting adopted to be a therapy donkey, which was really sweet. I can't remember his name, now I feel bad. But it was a nice donkey. My roomies and I also just so happened to go on Sensory Day, which made the fair much easier and less overwhelming to navigate, so that was excellent as well. Of course, there was also a lot of great food, such as the gobbler, which, if you aren't familiar, is basically kind of like a Thanksgiving leftover sandwich that consists of turkey stuffing and cranberry sauce, which was really good, honestly. I also got hot apple cider and donuts, of course, that's kind of a given, as well as some maple and honey candies, and birch beer, like the soda, not the alcohol. It's kind of like, it almost has a piney root beer kind of flavor. I really liked it. Alcohol doesn't really mix well with my stomach anyway. There was also this whole bee room filled with live bees. Well, they were in like a bee box, but like it was the bee room, which usually would have freaked me out, but in this circumstance and context it was okay. And they had a table where you could roll your own beeswax candles, which was very much marketed towards being for children, but my roomie and I are without shame. And so my candle's red and black, and it only cost me $1, and I made it myself. So there's that. Oh, and I also got a little spinning top, not in the bee room, at a separate stand. When I was younger, I actually used to make my own spinning tops out of balsa wood, and to make up for how light and soft the wood was, I would make them really wide, so they would still spin pretty well. This one I got is a bit smaller, but is made of a hard, dense wood, so it spins for a really long time. I can't recall the name now, but the sellers said it was made of a wood that was often used in flooring, which was really cool. So 10 out of 10, it spins very well. Unrelated to the fair, there was another day we all went out to go apple picking, which you can't go wrong there, except one of my friends fell in a hole, but they're recovering fine. We did go on a hayride though, so I think it was a decent trade-off. This was followed by a trip to meet more friends to paint pottery. I painted a fish. A dead fish. I will certainly be going back, if not just to get my fish, because it still needs to get fired in the kiln. I also, of course, went to bingo, and I won. I ended up getting to spin the prize wheel, and I got a DVD copy of a movie called Possessor, which I've heard good things about, so I'm very excited to watch it, and it's perfect timing, all things considered. Although I feel like any time is a good time for a scary movie unless I'm home alone and it's after 8 o'clock, but that's a me problem. My roommates and I have actually been trying to watch a bunch of scary movies this month. We actually have a big wheel we made of all the scary movies that we came up with, and every time we want to watch a movie, we spin the wheel and watch whatever it lands on. So far we've watched, last night we watched R.L. Stein's Cabinet of Souls. We've also watched Lake Mungo. And yeah, there's been a number of them. We have like 30 plus movies or so. It's been a good time. Now that I'm thinking of it, my spooky month has been much more eventful thus far than I thought it would be. Which is neat, I just thought I'd be doing more sleeping, but that's okay. I've been keeping up with a decent amount of reading, though. I actually got this gothic ghost stories books. Why can't I talk? A gothic ghost story book on a trip to the museum the other day. It's all made up of short stories, both contemporary and classic, that I can dig into while I'm waiting on my books on hold from the library. Or while I'm waiting for the Eyes of My Mothman costume to dry. It's a multifaceted book. And I also have this really cute little Pusheen vampire bookmark that I can put in it, which I got in this month's surprise box from Pusheen. Not sponsored, but I was really excited for this month's one, especially since it also came with this really cute little, like, cape poncho. So, overall, so far one of my favorite boxes. And it also came with this little journal that I'm excited to write in, as well as a goblet that I can put apple cider in, or orange juice, or ginger ale, I don't know, something. Any amount of fluids that can fit in it. Speaking of fluids, that doesn't sound like a great start, but I was just thinking of tea, like usual. I actually got this, citron and honey tea concentrate the other day when my roomies and I went on an adventure to H Mart. I also got a lot of snacks, like an unreasonable amount of snacks. I probably should have gotten more real food, but, you know, at least I have something. Probably gonna make popcorn later. Need something salty. I just have Fritos. But that's okay. I'll live. Or maybe I'll go down the street and get a pizza. Who's to say? Something. I'll eat something. Alright, now, in light of that, why is there a massive truck going by? Anyway, in light of that, I believe we're starting to get towards the end of the video. Overall, I'm quite still can't talk. Overall, I'm still quite content with how this piece came out. At first, I was worried the wood grain texture may have been too much or too distracting, but I think it added positively to the overall painting. Also, I just like drawing wood details. I think it's really relaxing in a sense, but maybe, I don't know, I just like tedious things. Maybe there's something just wrong with me. I also really like how the outfit turned out. The first thing I drew were the sneakers, because usually when I draw shoes, I tend to draw, like, boots and Converse, because that's just what I myself tend to wear, because I like them a lot. I have many a boots. But I was afraid the sneakers wouldn't meld well with the rest of the outfit because it overall has a much more, like, formal, dressy feeling to it, but I think it ended up adding a bit more of a casual air than sticking out, which I think is very fun. Or maybe it's a feeling of you were getting all decked out but had to run out and grab the mail or something. Yeah, overall, I hope you enjoyed. I know I had a fun time. Until the future. Bye-bye.